Hello, Gali.
Hello,
Good evening, Gali.
how
How are
are
you?
you? How is
Mm,
everything going? Are you in your car
Good.
driving home?
No, Gali, I'm at work right now. Today I have night shift.
Oh,
Yes, it's hard.
yeah, I can
uh,
imagine.
I'll be present, but please, can I have my video off for
Yeah,
today?
yeah, no worries at all.
Thank you
Um,
very much.
no worries. Meanwhile that we are here lonely, um, you have some speaking calls missing, but like you have like almost everything complete. Just the essay, you didn't send it to me,
Yes. Uh.
so I need like I don't want to be rude,
Mhm.
but let me know maybe when you can send it because I need to send my form on Friday and I am completed and I am filling it out. I have um you have here, give me a second. You have just one speaking call missing that won't affect you. Like on the
Okay.
score. So you have like 5 lessons that you miss. No worries. But I just want to inform you, okay? That
Okay.
I will present that report
Mm-hmm.
and just the say that is missing around. Um,
Gali, may I ask you, I understand that the essay was due today, but can you please extend the time so I can present it tomorrow?
yeah, what time you will send it?
Uh, before 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 night, can it be?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, no worries. But please
Thank you,
tomorrow
Gali.
because
Yes.
today, for example, I don't will I won't plan to give more time to the others. But I like that you are applicant, so no worries. I will extend the time, but I just have to put some zeros. Not my fault. Yeah, it was on Sunday actually,
Mm-hmm.
and today. But okay, yeah, you have like a lot of discipline, and I like that. Yeah, so tomorrow night I will present my report before Friday,
Sounds
and
perfect.
yeah, basically that. So no
Eh,
worries.
okay. Additionally, Gali, when are we gonna have exams? When are gonna be our finals?
Tomorrow,
Okay.
yeah, we have just one test. Tomorrow I will. No, tomorrow no. Tomorrow we have a speaking call on Tuesday. Because I want to do one final exam, just one, and the essay will count.
Okay.
Like the essay will be some of the most important scores. I am waiting. Nobody will arrive apparently. I will start now. So here we have, they are singing. So sorry. Okay, tonight we will talk about data protection.
Mhm.
I think that we didn't take a lot of things about, we never discussed this topic in a really hard way because when we are referring to data protection law, all the things that are involved is basically rights and everything like the strongest policies exist in UE. And we try to copy, but the reality is that we cannot make them comply or we cannot make them um, or execute them because we won't have or we didn't have any entity or proceeding established for realize some uh, penalty or In Colombia, for example, they can put some, or they can make that the company create an indemnization, but they don't have a proceeding for correct the issue. And they start to tell, oh no, the problem is with Google, or you need to send an email to
Mhm.
Facebook, and it doesn't work like this. Carla, good night, welcome. I was
Thank you.
telling Nicolas that we will have a final exam on Tuesday. And today I will finish with your speaking course and we are done in that topic, okay? Tonight we will talk about data protection law. I will just for put it in context. And here we have the strongest one that we can refer is in UE. And I guess that one of the top is UK. So for that reason, we will try to understand how is working this data protection law in UE, and then identify what we can copy, what we can take, and why maybe some of the laws are inspired by, but doesn't work, right? So how they have the strongest, we were talking before you arrived, that the problem actually is like in our countries, in Latin America, we didn't have some entity or some official entity or some minister or one department of the government that can make that the government that can oversee all the companies and that can create a policy and a strongest policy in data protection law. The reality, we were talking with Paula in our speaking call, the reality is they sell your information. If you have some publicity in your email, it's because someone catch your email and sell it to some databases or to one company. Same with your phone numbers, with your sexual orientation, political orientation, and basically everything that we know right now is digitalized. Or pictures or sensitive content or life now it's online. If we have a lot of platforms, your academic life is on LinkedIn, your photos are on Instagram, your academic goals are always on Facebook, your politic orientation or your preferences are online all the time. And this kind of information, we saw it like normal, but the reality, I don't know if you take some experiments when you start to talk too loud to the phone or so, or one device, and you start to talk about, I want to travel to Peru, whatever, or if I start to type Peru or something. And then a couple of days after, you start to have a lot of publishing on your social media, like travel to Peru, blah, blah, blah. And the reality is they have everything interconnected, and your data at some point of your life, you will start to create a statistic about your life. Even you have these watches where you can count or take into account how many steps did you take in one day, your heartbeat, your health system, everything. I guess that is digitalized. Your bank's account, your health system, your work, your social relationships, your emotions, like everything is there. And the truth is, like, or in other countries, our legal system is so weak for identify how the companies are managing our personal information, right? That is our top. That is the topic of tonight. My idea is that we can share a couple of experiences. I really wish that Paula can arrive because she works on this. So it will be so useful that she can give us her opinion. So I will put the presentation right now. You can see it. Yeah, can you? So first of all, we have the internet use. We have 3.6 billion people are online around the world. Is a language that all of us share. We know the new generation, they know how to use a laptop since they are born, or how to manage devices. And all these network protocols that internet runs or social media runs, and all the platforms are in one way or another interconnected. Um, I don't know if you, maybe for your work, you had the opportunity to work for a company that um, develop some apps, or they create apps. When they have a really successful one, they start to pay publicity, to do some requirements or requests to other companies, and then they start to have like a monopoly. That is the case of Facebook, or I guess that Instagram, now TikTok even is so success, even if they doesn't have this publicity score they are having when they put it on a stock like TikTok. They are in the stock market, all of them. But imagine that this is one of the strongest power, because all our generation don't watch TV. We are always connected in our phones or our devices, and we are online. We won't see, we didn't see novels or listen radio. It's not. We listen other things. And it's important to understand how all of these are involved with economics also. I don't know if you saw maybe some movies where you can find who are behind of all our systems, and they have a really incomprehensible vocabulary, because all the coding of internet is like 11101 blah, blah, blah. I don't know if you saw these lines of information. Someone that is not involved, of course, that never will understand how this works. But also we have like other power, that is the hackers. I don't know if you saw how is the situation in my country. I don't want to talk about theories of conspiration, but what's really hard. And the anonymous group, they posted some videos giving time to the government to stop all the violence against the population. And they start to hack all the government websites, all the banks. They start to stolen the information for the bank accounts of all the Congress, and they start to publish it. They blocked all the presidential online stuff. All the government is running out, and they start to hack all the emails from the colonels in the military force and publish it online. If they can do this to the government, imagine what they can do with our information that is quite sensitive. So in this topic, it's so important that you find the opportunity to read about the laws of cybersecurity. The most of them are inspired in UE, but we have it, but doesn't work. Like a lot of things in our countries. So the first thing that we need to understand is, like, if exists a vulnerability, it will be exploited. When we are online, we have these cookies, and we accept the terms and conditions without read anything. And a part of the virus that you can download to your computer, you can start to accept that without your control or your knowledge, they can modify your personal information from your computer as you don't realize the danger, or you didn't be conscious about. You just accept because you are in rush or whatever. And these things happen. I don't know if you listen sometimes about how the banks are responsible for all the money that some hackers takes from your, or they stolen from your bank account online. because you start to put like your life online, and your key questions, or some information that is supposed that you just know, like the expiration date of your ID, start to be online, and someone that they understand how read this kind of vocabulary, they can read these codes that at some point of some data and some transaction you put in your computer. And with knowledge, when you want to prove this in a case or in a litigation process in some of your or some of our countries, it's really hard, because your witness needs to be someone that not just understands all this language, like needs to be an expert, and we doesn't have it, right? We can't analyze the deep of the issue, because we are we have a really huge loophole. Do you know what is loophole? Tengo chat aquí.
Como vacío legal.
Ajá. Loophole, legal loophole, o loophole, que es como una laguna, es lo que es un vacío. So the reality is, like, we have a lot of loopholes, and we suppose that we have all the tools for going against these kind of behaviors by cyber crimes and etc. and exist in my criminal manuals or codes, and exist laws about it, like about data protection in my country, that is one of the most advanced when we are discussing these topics, and Brazil also. But the reality is, like, happens the crime, you can have an administrative process if maybe the state want to be responsible in some banks that the state has like part of it. But then if you are going against a private, you need to prove that was a mistake of the bank, and that will take some months or some years. They will give you an indemnification, but they never, because how they are working, they never will be again to the authors of this kind of crime, because they can't. They don't have the strategies. They doesn't have the experts. They doesn't have all the machines or all the technology that they need to be in front of a hacker, right? So here is so important to understand that hackers always will find a way to get around the law and the framework that govern the computers. Like, the law doesn't exist there because we can't speak that language and understand it, right? And yeah, everything is vulnerable. Imagine that if they can steal in a bank, that is in a reality without internet, it's like, oh yes, I will steal in a bank. I will steal a bank. And we said, like, yeah, sure, do it. Like in five. When we're talking about physics, it's impossible. I mean, if you put your life on risk, and you do some really bad act, and you are in front of jail and etc. But the result that can happen in India, the ones that are stealing you are completely vulnerable, and we doesn't understand. The privacy is a treasure, right? I do photography. I like it. It's my hobby, and for that reason, I have like my Instagram account public. At the beginning, my friends told me, like, Gali is a risk, and with time, I kind of published some of my personal pictures, but I never put something that can, in my way of thinking, but I know that it's a huge risk, because I put in like my pictures, like my personal, but also my trips, where I am. So online, I never I never like put my location in real time. For I know it's just the way that I am quite paranoid, but it's the way that I protect myself, because I'm lonely. And if you are uploading every or putting updates about your life all the time, you are giving some people information that in some places, for example, a farmhouse in Samaipata, that is so easy to identify where are you at the moment. So online actually looks like I am in Samaipata or in some part of Bolivia, general. And I try to put some of my life online, but not all. But the people do it. We do it. They like this old generation, but the risk is really high. So we have the Federal Trade Commission that exists in US, and we are involved in these kind of issues when we are talking about e-commerce. I know that you manage that. I guess Nicolas, at some point you told me that you manage this topic.
Yes, a little bit.
Okay, you want to add something? If I am talking with the experts,
Excuse me.
you want to add something or tell something about?
Um,
No.
uh, I don't know what I could say right now. Mm, I've seen a little bit of e-commerce on the university, but I'm not an expert.
Okay, just with a little grammar thing at the university. At, not on or in, no, at. And here we have like or data protection law is inspired in Colombia. Like 2 years and a half ago, the UE start to analyze some here I will put GDPR, General Data Protection Regulation, right? GDPR. And in the most of the cases, they create a right the right to be forgotten. I don't know if you listened this before. Yep. No, never. Carla, Nicolas. They start to develop this issue, referring to all the rights that we have to be put it out of some databases. Imagine, I don't know if you have this risk management in Mexico or in Bolivia, where if you have a job and you didn't pay, then the banks can generate a report, and you are like you are classified depending on what is the risk that you represent for the society, talking about economy. Like depending on your position, you can have other obligations with banks, or they just identify and classify you. After you pay the debt that put you on the register, you have like 5 years, and then you can send them a request telling that they put your information out. So that means that for 5 years, that is your penalty in Colombia. For 5 years, you can't demand this right, the right to be forgotten. But also, this can be exposed or el derecho al olvido. And we can also see it when we are talking about the sexual harassment that is online, that it's the typical ex boyfriend, so psycho, that start to post naked pictures of his ex-girlfriend. And when we need to put this information out, we have like the proceeding, we need a judicial order, and that judicial order, we need to send it to the main office of Facebook or Twitter or whatever. And following this right that is worldwide, we can make that they take all these pictures out. But all my family saw my boobs before that because it will take time to do this process. You know what I mean? It takes no months. And we can use it also when we need to make that every. Dime, Nicolas.
Gali, I wanted to ask something about this.
Tell me.
Here in Bolivia, there was a case of a person that I know
Mhm.
that a guy sent pictures of her via WhatsApp to
Yeah,
everyone,
yeah,
and she wanted to take him to court. But what happened was that they couldn't trace the phone number on WhatsApp because I mean he used an XX phone. I don't know.
yeah,
So how could we protect our data in this case?
yeah. And it's like the policies. Your question is so awkward because when we are discussing this, the thing is that the companies start to create policies that protects their customers, right? And in the case of WhatsApp, we have this encrypted system that where I send something just is between you and me, right? Or Carla and me. And that means that it's really hard to identify the origin, talking about technology, the origin of the picture, you know? And even if we are using other phones and etc., if for me as a lawyer, that I am not an engineer or system engineer, for me as a lawyer, it's really hard to prove um, how these violations to your personal dignity occur. Because we know the result, or we can have some indiciary proofs that show us that this number belongs to Pepito or Berenjeno. But the reality is that we can identify it. We cannot present proof that is completely opposite in the case of Facebook or other websites, because they have a register of everything just by the codes, right? They can identify also, for example, I know it by practice, they can identify, even they, you know that the people create these fake profiles and they can identify the identification of the laptop, like where start that data message, and they can prove it. So they can have this information and present it to the court, right? Especially because when we are talking about these cases of sexual harassment, we have a range of possibilities really reduced, right? If I am talking that my ex boyfriend posts some of my naked pictures online, that one is the most of the common things that can happen. I exist. I will give you an example. I have a main or a basic idea about which picture I sent, and whoever that take it, because we know that the reality may be the same picture I send it to X number of relationships, but it's not the same that I start to have have my that I start to create other realities in my mind, that maybe someone so general posts this picture. No, the range will reduce that range, and I can start like the people that I am suspected that create this, like I'm talking about the range of 1 or 5, and it's really clear where they need to prove in the case who do it, because they have the IP address or they have everything to analyze where the data message starts. But this thing about policy changed a lot of when we are talking about WhatsApp, because it's encrypted. Mhm.
Mhm.
We cannot take to the reference, we cannot go inside of the devices because they are like protected, but not by law, protected by the system, you know? And also we doesn't have this kind of entities. This case that I'm telling you about Facebook exists. We have it in our office, and we of course represent this girl. And it's really hard because you need to create all the process in Colombia and then send the request in English. You need to send the request to the Facebook office that exists in London, and they analyze and they take the time. But meanwhile, all the dignity that this is so sexist. But yeah, the people never imagine that we have this kind of terrible behaviors. No, that is completely normal. But of course, that we saw some picture of one guy, we didn't do any kind of issue. But it's a girl, no, it's a problem, and all the dignity is missing around, and etc. The reality is not. But all the university know that picture, all their co-workers, all, and that takes a lot of time. And then the thing is, that information starts for Facebook, but how it's public information, other people around the world, they start to put it in other websites. And one time that that picture goes out of Facebook, it's like you need to start to put this kind of request under judicial order to every website that take that picture. Basically, you will never erase that image by internet. So the all the consequences that you can have from one of these behavior, you cannot put it even in numbers when you're asking by indemnization. It's huge, the damage that they create in one of these cases. But that is the regulation. When we're talking about some companies that are under the framework of UE or US, we have some commissions that oversee this kind of relationships. And they start to analyze all these deceptive acts, que son todos los actos engañosos. This includes fraud and all the cyber crimes that we are having. And they provide all the recommendations, they provide some specific manuals to create that the companies start to modify their policies about how they collect the information, about how they use it, about how they sell it. And one of the most important things when we are talking about this general data protection law, especially in UK, that exists. So Nicolas, exists something that is this framework. We take, this is so important. I don't know if maybe he loses internet. The thing is, they analyze, they start to create this framework, and they make that the company first change their policies. But then if they didn't change it or they didn't modify all these, they can make that they pay a compensation that can be the 4% of all the profit per year, like the annual profit, or 20 billion pounds or euros if we are talking in the UE. So for the huge multinationals, they start to change all the proceedings and all the protocols about how they manage the information that they are collecting, right? Esto aquí yo lo tengo en inglés. The first thing that we need to analyze is everything is, all these parts of the lesson is taken by Whiston and Strong, that is one of the law firms I so recognize. And they start to put some areas that is related to data protection law. Some of them are the Fair Credit Reporting Act outlines the proper use and disposal of credit report information. That basically is what I told you before. All the reporting that needs to manage all the banks and all these economical sector for put you in a range about if you can be objects of some credits, or they can trust in you. If you are working, this is a system that works, because when you quit your job or you are having a huge job, etc., you are like in a really high risk report, and also they can find your personal information so easy. Between banks, they have like a really strong system, and that is a problem, because if for some reason you cannot fulfill your obligations, or you fulfill it late, you comply late, you cannot put that information out, right? Then we have other item, that is the Federal Information Security Management, and these act federal agencies and their contractors to have security IT systems and the US data storage. That is the thing that we are talking. They need to people specialized in cybersecurity, because they are responsible about. Actually, all this children's online information is protected by Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. That is a law just for them. How they are exposed online, because if we are exposed, that is suppose that we are adults and that we know how work these cookie systems and etc. They are of course that more vulnerable, because they can be so manipulated by people online. Also, the several states' law also mandate specific levels of data security for personal information, and many states now legally require organizations to notify customers or consumers of security breaches involving personal data. They need to notify you. We will talk about that a company of electricity, some problem inside of the data protection, and they lose part of the databases, or they have, I don't know, a hacker that is stolen, etc. If they have the know in UE, if they have the knowledge that they create a loophole of some information, they have the duty of notify you that that proceeding that occur in this day create that all your personal data is not missed but have risk of, and if you doesn't have that notification, and then by time you can prove in front of the judge that they stolen your personal information, this means that this company needs to pay for the indemnization of don't fulfill this obligation. Here we have the CDPA, that is all the data security requirements, and depending on the states, because they are federal, in some states change a little bit, same as in some states they have like with legally and in others not. Basically that happens in all these federal systems. And they need to create a strong data controller that must implement reasonable administrative, technical, physical data security practice and protect all the confidentiality, integrity, accessibility of personal data, and conduct how they are processing all their activities, all the sensitive data, actually. They are talking about that all the damage that we can have is more or less $7,500 per violation. That means if the bank missing around some of my information, and also a civil penalty, right? That we have the damage, but also some penalties for other causes or some entities. And they have like consumer privacy or customer that is included on customer service. And they also create like a framework about how these users need to fulfill their consents online, right? And some of the policies is like they need to put a language so that can be comprehend accessible for all the people, that the people can understand it in a really simple form. It's not like we are taking your information for blah, 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 and something that you doesn't understand. You need something that you don't understand, sorry, because you need to understand what are you accepting, right? Nicolas, I know that you lose your internet.
Hello, Gali. I'm sorry. I'm back.
Yeah, no worries. I understand. I was telling you that these policies are so strong in UE, and they have, when they can prove that some of the companies have like a loophole in the management of your personal data, and you can make this proof or this requirement until or in front of the judge, they can make that the company pays the 4% of all the profit annual from the annual profit, but also they will put some indemnification range that exists in UE by 20 million euros, and in UK by 21 million pounds. So the multinationals are so secure to change all the manuals and all the protocols by data management. But also, if they, because a human mistake that can happen, if they lose a part or just a little bit of your information, that by the end of all the process, they can prove that you create like all the confidence with the company, and they broke that confidence selling that data or having some negligent act or etc. It's so easy that you can have this indemnification. That is about what the data protection rules are taking influence not just in UE, also in our continent. But as I told you, we don't have this entity that makes that this can be complied. And in some states of UE of United States, they have this range about $7,500 per act that we can prove that they have that violation. So that means that if my personal information went to 100 places, that will be fair violation that you can ask by that amount of money. Give me a second. Mi amor, estoy en clase. Ay, gracias. Déjalo. Sorry for that. So, what more? No. And we have some examples about the privacy. That is how we have all the information online. And I don't know if you start to use so frequently some apps as Spotify or YouTube, that you start to type a song or a video just a little bit, and then you have all your preference like classified. That is data management. They start to identify all your preferences, and that happens with, even it's like so easy to be in contact with this, because I don't know if you start to check like the playlist that they start to suggest you, they start to kind of identify the pattern about who you are and what you like, what you prefer, the restaurants, what food you like to eat, what kind of activities do you like, if you like football or etc. So all these informations not identify you in a really direct form, but identify you in an indirect one. They start to create the whole bubble around you for make that you consume or that you choose part of some discussion when we're talking about politics and etc. So the most important thing is like they always need to guarantee that you can be a part of this policy. And that is the most important thing that we need to create in a concept or to do as a suggestion in a consulting process for a company. They need to create a protocol or manual for all the workers know how to manage all this information or personal data, because the factory or the business will be responsible about all the workers' behavior, but also they need to create in all their systems, websites, and etc. That in the case of the cookies, that is the most common one, that you can deny them, que tenga la posibilidad de negarte a aceptar esas, ¿verdad? Y es, o sea, en la práctica y también desde el punto de vista legal, ¿verdad? Que es para lo que nosotros estamos aquí. It's like you need to create that into the concept. You need to start to cover them about different situations because that is the consulting that they are asking for, how this is managed in your country. But sometimes it's a multinational that you need to follow in some rules in US, but also in UE and also in Africa. So that is the kind of advices that we need to give to them. And we have these classes, we classify them in different types of cookies. That, for example, we have some of them that really are necessary for the like the customer experience. You cannot skip that function, and depending of the app or depending of the website, we cannot skip it. But you need to identify and classify which one are strict and which one can be switched by, cuáles son estrictas y cuáles pueden cambiarse en un momento determinado. Y también tenemos el derecho de abstenernos de no usarlo. We can just skip use that website. But if it's completely necessary, because of we're talking about a real estate business or etc., that they need to identify what are you looking for and your preferences and start to identify some items or do a search about your new apartment in Belgium. We kind of are covered by, but if not, or we have a really good ruling about, suppose that we are protected. But the reality is not. They can use their or data around the world. The trust requirements, we have the electronics. I guess that Nicholas lose this, I guess. You lose this?
Can you repeat the question, please?
You lose that part? Or you were connected? About
think
how, yeah, I guess that you missed it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, basically, they have a specific ruling for every stage about adults, about children's behaviors, because they are most exposed, they are more vulnerable than adults. They have a lot of outlines about all the credit reports in front of the banks or in front of these economic systems. They have federal agencies that oversees how some companies are managing the information depending of the state that you live in US. And they have people that oversees that everybody be notified where they are managing or they are changing or they have a little hole in the databases management. So that creates that here they can have a top of manuals or guidelines that you can check online when you have all this information. But is the electronic citizens identities and strong authentication. That is basically when you need to prove that you are you. And we have, for example, some of my banks in Colombia, they have, I have a couple of accounts, and one of them that is a really digital one. I don't need like cards or a really account, a really hard account creation. It's really easy, but they have this a strong authentication process where it's like my my voice. I need to read something that they change it all the time, and they identify my tone. They identify the pauses that I am taking, the level of it. They identify by face. I just need to have a clear space. Also, I have my code, and I have when I want to use my finger for going, type, like my fingerprint, I can go in. So we have a really strong authentication. I have imagine that someone are stolen me and they need to take this information from my phone. And it's like, oh, just give me a second. You will take my time stealing my money because I need to do a really huge process that makes that at the end of the day, they want to be responsible about some fraud, right? Because that means that all the coding is changing, right? That they cannot, and it's like so real, it's on live. You do all this process, and it's really hard because they are not taking your information that is stored in the device, not when you put just your code and you make the shopping online, right? Every time that I need to use my bank, even in if I am doing some thing with my computer, I need when I want to link in them, I need to do all that process. There is a warranty for me, yeah, and some of other of my banks doesn't have it. I just go with the code. That's it. But this is part about how this is the result of a really huge work in databases protection, right? And all the developers, all the web designers, and etc. And it's really good. It's really good. At the beginning, it's like oh so annoying because every time that I need to go in, sometimes they didn't. If I change a little bit my voice or I start to speak a little bit faster, they deny me. So I need like to be relaxed and try to do it good as I recorded in the beginning. If not, they won't let me in. At the beginning, I found it so annoying, but now it's like, oh yes, I want that they stolen it. We have some dependencies that oversees how all this software is updated every time and how imagine that every time that you are updating some apps in Play Store, you are accepting a different policies of the use of data protection. And they have some federal agencies that oversee how this is working around. We have all the control system test beds, how they have all these no es encuestas, es como todos los lineamientos, ¿verdad? No sé si ustedes han escuchado de un negocio en línea about a business online that you can fulfill some surveys online about your preferences and cars and services products, and they pay like $1 or $2 by survey. So you start to send it to your friends and etc. And you can make money from all the information that they are collecting, or have like a concept for a product. How do you sell? And this happens a lot of with fast fashion. They start to make that you create a really strong database about your preferences, talking about fashion and style, but they need to see how they take that information and adapt it to the next collection and etc. That happens a lot of in US. And we have these frameworks for infrastructure and all these cyber security systems. We have all these trust requirements and especially these principles. That is, we cannot talk about a really strong data protection act if we can't take into account these principles that exist like fair and lawful, specific for its purpose, be suitable and only for what is needed, accurate and up to a date, is not to keep longer than necessary, take into account the rights of the people, and keep it safe and secure. These are the guidelines about how we need to put into a concept or how then we need to suggest to a company that they need to manage their personal data of the customers or for the clients or for the government. They need to take, we will talk just a little bit about each one that is fair and lawfully. They can prove that they are taking that information in a really legal way. That means that I'm not stealing the information from the devices, that they can fulfill their consents about we have about what we will do as a company with that information, and that happens in the contract. Imagine that this is oh this is imagine our phones companies, right? When we are fulfilling a contract with them, they need to be clear about how they are taking your personal information. That happens when they offer you plans and now change your. They need to prove that they have your phone number by a really fair and lawful way. That they didn't take it and they didn't buy it a database with your number. Then to be by a specific proposal. Imagine that you are a pharmacy and you have all the databases of your clients because they ask for your ID when you buy something, and they start to offer you things that is not allowed. So if they need to create a proposal, they need to, if they need it by like the final thing around all these topics need to be clear, specific, and cannot be avoided or skipped, or they cannot just leave it forever. Yeah, needs to be limit, and you need limits for this. I cannot keep your data, personal information longer than I need or that I can. And this is really interchangeably, because if I need to keep it longer, I can justify for some publicity or by a marketing campaign or etc. But I need to, for example, put it into a contract. The company of Pepito Perez will keep this information of all the customers for 3 months because it's the necessary time that we can check and we can oversee if they can manage some business with their clients, if they can create a new contract with their clients, and not more than that. After that, we will make that the security service or department of our company delete or keep safe that information. Right, that is our responsibility. And yeah, basically that accurate and update, especially with banks, that happens a lot. That if you, for example, they control you all the time. Every time that I need, every 6 months, I need to call to my bank in Colombia and tell them like, hey, I need permission to use my credit card or my debit card in Bolivia for 6 months more, or I will stay in Brazil, or I will stay in Peru. And then they have all these information updates. Where is working this card? Okay, right? If not, I am losing because I cannot use it anymore. And I want to go back just for put my card available again. And basically that is the cybercrime, that is all the examples that I give you tonight. Essentially, every time that I made a crime with the technology, like in this equation, like the author, the victim, and in the middle we have some technological tool. We are talking about cyber crimes, or when we are using technology for stealing some things from the people, or for make frauds, or for going against the personal integrity, as the topic that we were, or the example that we were discussing before, in the case of sexual harassment. And here, of course, that is taken by the federal law, but in our countries, we need to identify how these proceedings start. In Ecuador, they start to get inspired by our legal system, and to put everything clear and try to identify who entities start to oversee this kind of relationships, and they start to have like qualified people, experts, not just in all these cyber things, technology, but also lawyers and etc. And cyber attack as an international international wrongful act. We have it like this in treaties and international conventions, and we can identify it, but we cannot attack it, and that is something that we need to know. We will finish. I know we will spend 2 minutes more, and that's it. The possibility that the International Court of Justice can admit a situation of this nature with its competence. The court, despite having the tools and the experience necessary to understand complex situations and determine the responsibility face or not of a state for considering a cyber attack as an international wrongful act. It lacks the necessary efficiency as it doesn't have the compulsory jurisdiction. Esto es un apartado tomado de una decisión de la Corte Interamericana de Derechos Humanos. And basically, when we're talking about this court, that is the highest tribunal in our continent, that is in Costa Rica, when we're talking about rights, we can accept all the limits that we have and how they cannot have this jurisdiction over these kind of situations, because they understand how can be so complex to analyze the responsibility of the state or of the private, talking about cybersecurity and cybercrime. But the reality is, like, we can affect a lot of rights online, right? And it's really hard to make them that the people be responsible about. So yeah, basically we finished with this. Before you leave, I will please ask you that you feel the survey that now is online. I just turn it on, and we will finish with Carla or in session, or you can call. And thank you so much, Nicola, for your time. I will be waiting for your essay. Thanks to you. Good night. Hola, hola, hola. Estoy súper
Hola, hola,
seca.
hola.
Qué bien. La chiquita.
The exam will
Aprendiendo.
be like the other day.
Sí, un poquito más preguntas. Hoy iba a ser, pero no se conectó nadie. Me parece muy, muy mal. No es tan cruel. Colocar un cero. Que tome la decisión que no. El
Yes,
jueves
no,
lo voy a
like
hacer.
never. Yeah.
I will wait a little bit and then we will do it. And if in Thursday I cannot do it, I just will put zeros because I don't have more options.
Yeah, I suppose.
Okay, sorry. I
No, it's okay. I'm also drinking water because
yeah, give me
I'm so
a
tired.
second. We will
Yes,
start
yes,
with
of course.
1 second.
Yeah,
I am
yeah.
going by water. I will die.
Yeah, because I have.
It's easy because I told you that I am in the kitchen, literally.
Ah,
So I am close to. Necesito tomar una foto de esto. Me toca mandar el reporte a mi supervisor todos los días. Okay, perfect. We are done with this. We have 2 topics missing, right? The first one I have here. The first one is about.
patent and environment law.
Ya te envié otro, ¿verdad?
Yes, it was a video about environment law. Another one that I have to looking for a patent in Google Patents.
Nice. This was so bad. I will
Nice.
put the fridge. Oh. What we will start with Google Patents. Then I get
Okay.
inspired. What was the invention that you find in Google Patents?
Well, I started looking for, I don't know, something about environment for, I don't know, for being naked, and I realized that some enterprises from China is investing in Mexico, and they are patent. For example, I found
Some agencies or some ¿qué palabra me dijiste?
enterprises
Yeah,
like
are investing.
are
A veces
investing.
cuando estamos hablando rápido, a mí me pasa un montón. Con el DOS, con el DON, me pasa. Y se vuelve re inconsciente. Como ya estás en un piloto automático.
Sí,
Entonces,
solo hasta que lo escribes ya te das cuenta que
sí,
estás mal.
entonces es importante. Are.
Yes, are investing. And for example, I found one that is extracting water. Uh, water. How do you it says? Water soluble. Soluble. Yes, soluble. Water soluble for drinking. From Mexico, and they patent. It is from China, and I don't understand all the content. Like
Yeah.
I don't know what is claims. I don't know what
Yeah.
is well, I really don't know.
Claims is like petitions.
Okay.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
my idea with this is especially for lawyers that they know how to do a little research about what is the situation of the invention if they have some clients. But of course, for you it's different. But we need to check as a lawyer this or have an international report about a product or about an invention that can make that this product that exists already can be modified or have a better development of the issue or have like for make it more efficient, right? We can use the patents also for that. And the system is really easy use and nobody knows that Google patents exist. It's not common. But as you can see, we have the drawings, we have all the art, the prior art state, we have all the information, and that information costs. I know that some of these concepts are around $1,000 by concept, and it's really easy. So I'm just giving tools for make a better job. But basically, it's not about the invention. It's about how do you feel managing this platform.
Yes, because
Was
I
easy.
didn't know.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was easy. Found like for
Yes.
example, the founder, the investors, whether was the register, if it's active or not. Was
Yeah.
easy that part or not really?
No, not really. And I really don't know how does a patent work because for example when I was in the high school we create a video game for kids that they have um, TDA. I don't know how to say in English, that they are all time they cannot control themselves, and we create like a video game for teaching mathematics. And well, we participate in Microsoft in a international I don't know, with several countries that competence, and well, we lost, but they told us
We
that
participate.
we participate.
Yeah, we
But
lost, but we participate. Perdimos,
yes,
pero participamos.
yeah, but they told us that we can patent the video game because it was with the Kinect, because you can use all your body doing the exercise, and it is a way to control or to keep the attention of all the kids. But the problem was that we didn't know how to patent that
Yeah,
because nobody helped us how. But and
it's a
also
really
no, I didn't know how to use it, the
no,
platform.
no worries. As you can see, I can remember if you were in our lesson of patents. But the difference between copyright and patents is basically that patents exist for every product that is completely new or that you want to make a that you want to modify that product that already exists for make it more efficient.
Mm.
And also everything that can be covered by a patent is some industrial process that you can apply and sell in the same way in your country or others, right? So it's different when we are talking about websites, digital platforms, products online, etc. Because it's not something that you sell the idea, right? Or the creation, but it's not tangible. Exists. If we are talking about this game, it's a CD or etc. But the proceeding with patents is a little bit in the example that I've given me. It's a little bit hard because you need to have like an engineer and someone experts in Microsoft tools and etc. But they can do the patent because if you are the first one that implements some of these games, the next time that they want to use the same technology, the next one after you needs to pay because they are using your idea, even if they are trying to improve it, they need to pay to you. And that is the work of the lawyer. Exist other hundreds of platforms to identify depending on the case. That can be, for example, for digital spaces, by apps, and etc., where they can identify what is registered and what not.
What is that?
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it is if it exists, you must pay for using the idea or the first idea.
Yeah. And also the idea that about you use Google Patents is that you can identify where was the last registration, but also if the patent is active or not. And if
Okay,
it's not active, you can like keep
take that
paying.
place.
Yeah, because
Okay,
you need to have like an available. The people pay sometimes that for years, but sometimes you can skip it. That happens a lot. If you have the opportunity to check about the first designs of Samsung tablets, they have hundreds of registers of usage because they start to. I want that you put it when you have time. They made the design of the type of the tablet that is 3 or 4 images. They doesn't speak
okay.
about all the development and all the technology. It's like no, they just create the design about that
So
happened 10 years ago. And every people and every company that needs to create something similar, like in the product, just in the basic way, they need to pay them because the idea was create a mobile device that the people can use by uh, like touching, and that can do it everybody. It's not necessary the the developer, right? The developer.
okay, but for
No es el
example,
desarrollador la única persona que puede hacer la patente. Yo quiero que en 10 años existan unos zapatos que me hagan volar. Voy a hacer el diseño y si es razonable en cuanto a estructura, manejo, ya viste cómo está estructurado
sí.
el documento, en algún momento me van a tener que pagar porque es mi idea, es mi invención. Así yo solamente tengo un prototipo. Eso fue lo que pasó con las tablets de Samsung.
Okay.
Y
Y
está,
ahora ganan
that
un buen
example,
de
yeah,
dinero.
yeah, I can share to you. Déjame ver dónde tengo acá.
Pero para renovar what is the time that the patent is, I don't know how to say that, como vigente. I don't listen to you. I don't know why.
Hello?
Ya, ya te escucho. Eso es
Was
ver
my
los audífonos.
headphone? Yes, was disconnected. Give me a second. Button. Maybe down. It is like tablet computer device that patent was presented in 2010.
Mm.
It was presented in the United States. Check the design, as you can see here in the picture. As you can see, we're not talking about software or everything. We're talking about really basic device. We have the worldwide applications that start to be, the legal status is active. We can have the application number and basically around the cost and where was the filling date, right? When they fill it out. Then we have all the prior art, es como el estado del arte del producto. And also, we have it here, all the uses, right? Samsung Electronics, the tablet computer, the device, all in one, all the similar, right? The connector, the portable tablet computer or connector, the child applications, the priority applications, all the claiming priority.
Y por
Yeah.
ejemplo, si yo creo algo similar y no le pago la patente, ¿cómo cuánto puede ser la demanda de Samsung?
Happens, of course, that the countries that were registered. Here, for example, we have the United States and etc. But imagine that if you want to use some Samsung design, how much money you need to pay is like huge because the company is huge, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But as this, we can talk about cleaners, for example. Not the same. This was just example, but we have some companies that cannot offer something so huge or different. Check that you can kind of avoid it, and especially our countries are not recognized for create a lot of products because we are not an industrial country. We just buy them and give them all the materials, right? Like the main
Yes.
materials of it. So
Yes.
we doesn't deal with this pressure.
Yeah, because it was what I realized why China is registered the extraction of water, the potable, the pure water in Mexico, because it's our country, it's our water, but they have the patent, and it was I don't know, it was fuera de lo legal, fue algo
Unlawfully.
Unlawfully.
That's illegal
I
is
don't know.
lawfully. No.
Lawfully. Out of lawfully. I don't know. I think that for some reason a lot of people is leaving our countries for inventing or for studying in other ones because here it doesn't matter. And now I think that we must pay to China for drinking water lawfully, or the way that they are extracting or water from our ocean. But thank you. Now I know how a patent works.
Yeah, but The people are professional. They study this for years, and depending, of course, of the sector, of the economical sector that you are discussing, you can find like a lot of professionals in UK that just works for years in this matter and these issues. And the consulting process that they need to create by a professional in this area is huge, because imagine when you are trying to develop a new product, basically it's a competence between the lawyers, like the patent lawyers of strong companies. Imagine how is the competition between software in Samsung and Apple. They have a huge competence when they cannot have any mistake, because that mistake will be approached by the other one, right?
Yeah.
And that happens a lot of with designs and how it looks like these kind of tablets. And that is a work for lawyers. That of course is not your case, but that is a work that lawyers do.
So I think that corporate law is so important nowadays.
Yeah,
and
they win a lot of money.
how to manage
Yeah.
all these big companies.
Mhm.
And it has a relation with the topic of environment law, because if you know how to manage all of this, you can avoid several things, or you can ask for a penalty if they are doing a damage to your country. So it's like linked everything.
Yeah.
Now everything has sense.
Mhm. Okay, what was the part that sounds more interesting for you about environmental law? We are starting moving to the next topic.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's a little bit more easier, because it is like, I don't know, when a country can defend their lands, their water, the uses of the land, when a company or when it is damaged. But I don't know, I think that the rules or the all the legislation is not working as it has, or it must be. I don't know. I think in the last years that the United States decided to leave uh, the the Treaty of Paris. I don't remember the name of treaty, but they decided only leave, and it was not a penalty, or it was not a restriction for leave it. And I think that is not strong as it must be, this kind of law for all countries and for all the companies about the use of all the water, the lands. Because as you said, in the future, it would be a war about because of water, because of aliments, because of territory, I think, like, I don't know, for several things. And I think that this kind of regulation could be avoid this kind of future wars, and but nobody is taking care about that. They think that all our resources are forever, but it is not. But I don't know, it's my point of view, as I don't know. Your microphone is off.
Yeah, so I was like, it's perfect. I really like that point of view, and how you start to analyze all the information that you're having about something, because that will be our future. We know it.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, and what about all the things that you can identify that some lawyers can do and they don't? Talking about environmental law, what do you think? Like, talking from the experience of Mexico, what do you think that the government or the lawyers of the government have a delay about? Como tienen un retraso. ¿En qué sientes, en qué área sientes que no, los abogados del gobierno o los abogados no están procediendo como deberían?
Yeah, I think that in most of our countries, more in Latin America, it is happening. They are not taking care about these kind of things. And for example, also, I don't know, I think in Africa, where a lot of companies from, I don't know, United States, maybe some countries of Europe, are using or are doing a damage in the land, and nobody is like taking care. I don't know, I think in the case of Tanzania, that for example, in a lake, for producing more fish, they damage all the water, because they introduce something that it was not from there, and it was a huge damage. And also, for example, all the nuclear, that I think that is other part of the law, that it must be attended, the all the producing of nuclear guns or something, that it is damaging the environment. And I think that it is not it exists, but I don't think that, or where, I don't know if it is working well. But I think, for example, Russia is taking care about that, about the nuclear law, or something like that.
Yeah.
But I think, I don't know, as not lawyer,
Yeah, and just
I
all this what is happening with COVID for me, and I guess that some theories are talking about that was like a biologic harm.
yeah, yes, all of that theories that, well, I don't know, because sometimes it has sense, but I I hope that it is not, that it was really an accident, because we didn't take care about food healthy, no, food safety, that also there is not a good regulation about the selling of food and all the process of selling food. I don't know, I think that
Yeah.
sometimes, for the fact of selling more or getting more money, you can like not see what is happening, and allow a lot of things. For example, the selling of certain products that are causing a damage to the people, or because they don't have enough care and enough cleaning, they are producing a illness in people, and it doesn't matter. I think that only well, I'm selling, and if people want to buy it, it's their decision, but I'm not taking care about the producing of that aliments. And also, for producing, I don't know, I modifying the animals for growing faster, and I'm using a lot of chemicals that maybe could produce a damage to the people. But I think that in that case, I think that lawyers are not working as they have to, or they must do it. I don't know if I can express my idea.
Of course, you express it perfect, and I am completely agree with you. Yeah, it's like not just about the people and the damage of the people, it's also how they are being damaged so bad and so hard to the animals. And they have a lot of environmentalists around this kind of behavior that happens a lot in Argentina. I guess that in other continents, Argentina is the one of hardest when they are like talking about the farm producing or animals and all these livestock markets that they, como todo este ganado y el sector avícola, they try all the animals as a thing, as a product, as a coin. And
Yeah,
it doesn't it generates a problem or issue against the company. They just kill them like hundreds and thousands. That happens with the little chicken.
yes, exactly. And I don't know, I think that the environmental law could be, or it is important
Mhm.
legislation for future and for our days. And I think that it is like a missing something, like a lack of good application for protect your your land, your your territory. I don't know, your
Yeah, it's
or your
perfect.
resources as
Yeah,
country.
your own resources.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
but
Thank you.
I think that it, it must be in future. If we
Yeah.
don't have a war,
Yeah.
we
That is
must.
something that is
uh,
related with your career also, not just
Yeah.
with my career. You can find how to connect this kind of topics or issues, even from an academical way. You can do it, right?
Mhm. Yeah, right. I don't know, when I was studying everything or almost all time, I I choose something about law, about international law, or a issue in the international environment, in the international arena,
Yeah.
about law, about how it was applied or something. I don't know. I think that law is a way of resolve or avoid problems in the
Yeah.
international arena.
Nice. Yeah. Thank you so much for your concept. It's really good. And yeah, so we are done with speaking calls.
No, thank you to you
Bye.
so much, because I estaba a punto de dejar todo y tirar la toalla, como
No,
decimos.
y lo tiraron, ya hay muchos que lo tiraron. En realidad no sé si por el tema de movilidad o realmente qué fue lo que pasó, pero al regresar, la mitad, igual pasa todo el tiempo, ¿no? Los índices de deserción en temas de aprendizaje de idiomas son los más altos de la vida. Pero da lástima, porque al final causa un esfuerzo, es como estar súper para una profesora cuchilla, pero súper cerca de tener el certificado. El certificado pesa muchísimo. Tiene un reconocimiento en los países convenido de la Haya. Entonces, ¿me entiendes? O sea,
Sí,
que te lo digo, porque el mío también sale así y viene como se autentica en la notaría en Florida y ese reconocimiento por el instituto es the Florida Institute of Education. They are recognized as they recognize it in all the countries that belongs to the Haya Convention. And you have like a
Gali,
huge
no te
list,
escucho.
like 100. Look,
No sé si sea yo o tú.
okay. Hello, like all. Hello.
Gali, ahí está, ya,
Yeah.
Gali, ya.
We have like all the countries that belongs to the Haya Convention and recognize that. And
Ay,
it's like for me, it was sad, and it's like now if I can do something for six. Now you have ISO. I told you yesterday we are done. We just have Carla six sections that six sessions that you miss, and I guess that you won't have issues. I just asked my supervisor with how many lessons you lose the course.
sí.
But some of them like 19 sessions that they miss. Even if I start to do all the speaking calls, they will have more than 10 sessions missed. I don't want to lose my time because they lose it already. So,
Sí.
but with
No,
yours
pero,
at the right time to say
no, pero
and
muchas gracias. Si no me
no,
hubieses dicho, si puedo hacer algo para que cambies de
no,
opinión,
no,
pero
yeah,
muchas gracias.
yeah,
Pero
no, you're welcome.
ya así, por ejemplo, lo del convenio digo, de la que está apostillado o la apostilla. Por ejemplo, yo estoy estudiando en España y no sé si tenga validez, porque solo me dijeron que el título iba a estar apostillado, pero no sé si está apostillado en mi país tiene como validez o
Yeah,
no
but
sé cómo.
also, yeah, the one thing is not that be valid. No sé por qué sigo hablando. Una cosa es que sea válido, pero otra, digamos, en el caso de estudios superiores, tú necesitas que se haga el proceso de homologación con el Ministerio de Educación del país. Entonces,
Ah,
tú
ya.
necesitas obtener el título y luego ellos cogen y estudian todo el currículum que tú estudiaste en España y la intensidad horaria y lo intentan aplacar, porque a veces ya ves que en Europa los estudios de magíster son súper diferentes. A veces
Sí.
lo que ellos entienden como magíster para nosotros es un diplomado. Entonces
Ajá,
ellos
más.
comienzan a analizar todo el currículum, la intensidad horaria y si sí se puede ser como equiparable y lo aprueban o no lo aprueban, pero igual el estudio siempre está realizado, independientemente de que no sea homologable, pasó, ¿me entiendes? Sucedió, tú estuviste en esas clases. Y esto pesa muchísimo en nuestros países como experiencia académica,
Ah, ok.
así que
Sí,
nos dan
porque
gusto.
solo me dijeron eso y como que no entendía bien lo que era apostillado. Y ahorita que lo sacaste dije, ¿cómo funciona más o menos el apostillado? Pero muchas gracias.
No, el apostillado, o sea, el apostillado es un proceso de nivel internacional donde el gobierno dice, da fe, es como el notario internacional, esa es la apostilla, ¿sí?
Sí,
Es donde ellos dan fe de que ese documento, digamos, los
vale.
antecedentes penales siempre están apostillados, o X, donde ellos dan fe que ese documento se expidió por una autoridad o por una institución nacional y que tiene ese reconocimiento como tal, por ejemplo, en mi caso en Colombia, y que por ende ese mismo reconocimiento se le tiene que dar aquí en Bolivia o en otro país. Es lo mismo,
Ah,
pasa lo
ok.
mismo con España. Está reconocido allá y ellos dan fe de que se emite, de que de buena fe ese título existe, ¿sí? Como un antifraude.
Ah, ok.
¿Sí?
Ya.
Entonces,
Entonces aquí, aunque no tenga, o no sea homologable, tiene
ujú,
validez. O bueno,
claro.
sí, o sea, es
Sí, 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 exacto.
va. Entonces, muchas gracias doblemente.
Y por todo, muchísimas gracias. Nos vemos
Nos
entonces el
vemos
jueves
el jueves.
y test y ya salimos de el viernes. Somos libres, oficial.
Va que va. Bueno,
Bueno,
nos
un
vemos.
abrazo. Que
Suerte
estés
y
bien.
diviértete. Ya vi que sí te
Gracias.
diviertes mucho. Nos
Mira los
vemos.
ojos así como quiero dormir.
Sí, me imagino. Entonces ya te dejo para que descanses. Nos vemos
Gracias.
pronto.